2016 presidential election. Meantime, Comey's indictment comes days after President Trump pressured Attorney General Pam Bondi to go after his political adversaries. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mackenzie Brennan, attorney extraordinaire, back here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, Mackenzie.
It's great to be here, despite the circumstances being a little unprecedented once again.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this is really interesting. So walk us through with regard to how we got here. There were so many folks that woke up today and said, wait a minute, I don't understand. The former FBI director now indicted. Do tell, Mackenzie.
Yeah, so as Madeline was saying when we introduced this story, I think that Donald Trump's comments really destroy a lot of the plausible deniability about the intent behind this. So obviously last week on an unrelated issue, we saw him tweet likely what was intended to be a private message to Pam Bondi talking about how he wanted to prosecute some of his political enemies. We also see him at the same time as this Comey indictment going after George Soros. We saw a couple months ago he instructed the DOJ to fire Maureen Comey, likely because she's related to Comey himself. So it's clear that there's a bone to pick here. Usually in past administrations, there's been a distance that has been reinforced and pretty sacred between the DOJ and the White House itself. You know, these are not the president's lawyers. This is the executive branch's judicial department. So we also see a lot from who is leading this prosecution. So Bondi took some excoriation from Trump because she refused to lead up this indictment. The statute of limitations was running out, so Trump appointed this fresh prosecutor who has never prosecuted a case before this one to lead the indictment charge against Comey. She's been in the office for less than a week. And the charging document itself, the whole purpose of a charging document is to tell a defendant about the charge.
Exactly, yeah.
It's 2 pages, so that purpose isn't even being solved adequately in this indictment.
You know, I'm really glad you touched on that, Mackenzie. That's one of the things I wanted to point out. The other happens to be that there are some who are saying that this is the first time in history, one, that a president has gone to this extent, but two, that the president has identified the guilty party first and then told the attorney general to find charges against that entity, if you will, or in this case, Mr. Comey. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a good way of putting it. Certainly the cart before the horse, and again, it really betrays the actions where there might have been a more defensible case to make, although I'd argue, you know, looking at the charging document, there isn't a whole lot of factual basis there, but for the point of argument, if you hadn't heard the president say these things ahead of time, be tweeting about them, also be going after other political adversaries, be so clear about why he's doing this, there could have been some more plausible deniability about, was there some wrongdoing here? Now I think all of us look at it with a sense of take anything with a grain of salt because he's been very clear about his intentions here.
All right, Mackenzie, so I know you don't have a crystal ball in front of you, but I have to ask, what happens next? For those of us who do not know how the legal process plays out, what should we expect to see sometime in the near future as this does play out?
Yeah, the one piece that we can take some solace in is there's a saying that you could indict a ham sandwich, that the indictment stage of things tends to be the easiest because there's no rules of evidence at play. It's everything through the lens of the prosecution. You don't hear the defense's case, so it tends to be much more prosecution-friendly than any other phase of a trial of any case of this nature. So even though we do have an indictment only on 2 charges out of 3, it doesn't mean that anything will come of this for Comey necessarily. There still will have to be a jury proceeding. I guess it's possible that there could be plea negotiations. It seems like given the animus here, they won't be likely to play ball on the DOJ side, but we'll see. Also, I think look to public opinion. The fact that this is so transparent, I think we could anticipate some public backlash, and that might urge the DOJ to back off a bit.
Yeah, and with that being said, side note, will this be televised any way, form, or fashion? And I'm making reference to the actual case itself.
I don't think so. Federal courts don't allow videotaping, and the DC circuit is federal, so I don't think we'll see any of that play out, but I'm sure there will be a real interest in transparency for everything beyond the actual proceeding.
I agree. Concur as well. Mackenzie Joy Brennan, attorney and political strategist, actually, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, Mackenzie. Make it a great weekend.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet.